Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. Me, Chantelle, and of course I have with me again today the beautiful Rachel Vaughan from Australia. How are you, beautiful?
I'm good, thank you, darling. Lovely to see you again with your cacophony of dogs.
It's so crazy because I have neighbors who have dogs and I don't have dogs. And of course, I've got the noisiest dogs in this entire neighborhood. But they seem to know when I'm online because they love to come and sing and chat with everyone. So just enjoy them. They are beautiful. That's Gus and Sandy and Lady. So you
Oh,
all know.
you're surrounded. Wow, cool.
Totally. Gus is the one I always take to the beach. He's the size of a small pony. I mean, he's delightful.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he's yeah. So I take him to the beach with me, and of course, I had no idea just how much of a magnet a dog can be. A human man, men and women. I'm not saying, I've always heard people like meet their spouses on the beach walking a dog. I had no idea about these things. Take this huge dog. Every person, stops. Yes, I think, yes, it's my dog. Meanwhile, it's my neighbor's dog. I said to my neighbor, you better just tell them, it's not your dog, it's my dog. Anyway, I love him. He's very cute. So yeah, that's my dogs, and those are the voices you hear in the background. But Rachel, it's so good to have you back again. And I know we've missed each other this past few weeks, and that was actually my fault because I had one time written in my diary and another time on my calendar, my phone calendar. So I was confused. But I'm very glad to have you back, and also just to talk about these amazing topics that we have for today, which is pretty much harmonizing the ley lines. We're talking about the supermoons and really how important it is at this time to raise your frequency and what that all entails. So, over to you, beautiful. Tell us about, I mean, I know you're doing this amazing course. I am so grateful to be sitting on your course that's starting in September. So, I'm going to give you guys some amazing feedback soon because I will be joining Rachel's, I think it's called your psychic development. Is that what you've called it? Yes,
Right.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
course.
So we're learning about how to see ley lines, how to read auras, how to manifest ethically, how to use self-affirmations for protection to get rid of old curse energies from family lines. So there's a lot in there. So there's 4 dates and we get together and we all just sort of learn together. And the last session's a question and answer session, which is very lovely because then I get to see what people have learned, what they need, confirmations on or clarification about, which is really cool. But yeah, the energies at the moment are pretty full on. So I've had a whole slew of people come to me to say that they've had sleep paralysis, and they feel like they're having this demonic attack. So I did put something out about that the other day, and I wanted to share that again today because it's such a common experience. So I hate to quote Wikipedia, but up to 50% of people will have these experiences. There's a really powerful painting called The Nightmare by Henry Fuseli, quite an old painting, and it depicts a woman sort of comatose in the bed, lying backwards with a demon on her chest and this nightmarish horse looking in through a curtain.
Wow.
A lot of people who have this experience are aware of demonic entities around them. And it's even on the Wikipedia page. It talks about, most people think they're being attacked by a demon. So I just gave some very basic sort of tools to get rid of something like that. And we were talking about that earlier. You can imagine a gold light coming in to protect you or to send that entity back to source. It's a really powerful way to get your power back. So you could look at it instead of looking at it, oh my God, I'm being attacked. Hopefully, with some of this, to arm people, some of this information, people might actually look at it as an opportunity to learn a process to prevent this from ever happening again. It's pretty full on, but there's a lot of other stuff that's going on at the moment. So the energy
Absolutely.
are really intense. So I liken it, as I was saying before, to it's like winding up a rubber band. And as we get closer and closer to December, in December, the ley lines of the planet will harmonize permanently. And this is a big event. This is something pretty spectacular. So it doesn't
Wow.
happen very often. I don't know of any time in human history. I assume there would have been times in Earth's history where this has happened before. Possibly it's an every 26,000 year process as we come into this beautiful golden age that we're coming into, and it's called harmony time, harmonizing for a reason. I believe it brings in a harmonic balance, which will make it very difficult for dark attachments and puppeteers to have much power here anymore. I think most of them are going to have a very difficult time holding on. So as we come up to that, as you often say, the old Lucy's are having a kick in the guts. They're having a tanty. They do not want to let go of their toy. So it's like the rubber band's getting tighter and tighter. Add on to that all these super moons that we've just had one. There's one coming up in the next 3 months. Up until November, we've got a super moon each month. It's an interesting time. But what I wanted to pass on today is not for people to be, dreading that, just to be cognizant of the fact that it's a short period. It might get a little bit more intense, but we can get some relief at the end of the year. And again, I don't think it's all just going to be wonderful once December's passed and we've come into the harmony time. It doesn't mean everything's just hunky-dory. But what it does mean is that those that have had power here, they won't have power anymore. So, there's still going to be some interesting times as the old structures fall apart and our new structures are rebuilt. And I've heard astrologers talk about this as well. It's exciting.
It is very exciting. You talk about the Lucy's having a tanty. That's so Australian. Tanty. Tantrum, by the way.
Tantrum, yeah.
Very Australian. That's what I'm talking about. And it's so true because, look, no matter what denomination you are, I think we just have to look at what's happening around us, and we have to know that, yes, it is the end of an era. It's not necessarily the end of the world. I don't believe, and does that mean that certain parts of the world aren't going to be struck by something? Probably. That might well happen, like by flying, whatever they are, from wherever. That might happen, right? But I'm saying that this is the end of an era. So we're now moving out of one age into another. So it's like a birthing process. And anyone who's ever given birth understands giving birth is quite a painful process. There's quite a bit of, contractions and all sorts of things in the run-up to the birth, as well as the pregnancy and the nurturing and the this, until that peak time, and then you have that release, and then there's the healing process after that as well, right? Yeah. So we're in the stage right now of choosing, do we go 4D positive or 4D negative, right? Yeah. And I think that's exactly what you're saying about needing to raise our soul frequency, because it's not about it's not even about how much chanting you do. It's not even about how many times you go to yoga a week or church or whatever it is you do, right? It's about how you've integrated that message from Christ, whether it doesn't matter what religion or what denomination you are. God's or Christ, the Christ consciousness energy is available to us all. And when we open ourselves up to receiving that, we are innately and automatically guided. We are prompted. I always say God prompts me, and no one is going to stop me when I get that prompting, because only me and me and me alone knows when I get that prompting. The rest of the time I can be up in my head and like wondering about this and speculating about that and considering that. But boy, when I get that moment to move, yes, you've got that right moment. That's like that. It's like a perfectly tuned guitar string. Then you know. And that's what works for me. And we all have to be aligned and attuned with spirit in order to receive that, because that's going to be our saving grace. The teachings of Christ from centuries ago are going to be the things we need to apply, and have been the things that we've needed to apply. And if we haven't applied that, then we're going to get stuck. That's my opinion. And it's so deceptive, right? Rachel, you of all people would know how deceptive the Luciferians are. Can you maybe give us one or two examples of deception in the system that you've experienced? Just something that springs to the top of your mind.
Well, my father could be incredibly charming when he wanted to be. Like I've said before in interviews, there were times when we would have parties or we would be at parties and he would be this magnanimous, charming, everybody would be hanging on his every word. And I would go up to him at those times because I wanted to be with that dad, that person. So, you know, but afterwards he'd go back to this raging, insane, crazed madman. So they can put on a show, they can make themselves look like they're really good people, but behind the scenes they're not that way. And it's really interesting. They can even mask their soul frequency to a certain degree. He had a way of I could see his aura was red, but at times he would be able to push out his aura somehow so that it didn't look so dark. And I often wonder, was that because this dark entity had come in and taken over? I'm not saying, I'm not absolving him of any responsibility for the things that he did, but he definitely had attachments. One in particular would sit on his bed, and it was terrifying. His room was very much, it's interesting, the room itself had a presence, whether he was in it or not.
So something owned that space. Something owned that space.
Yeah, he even painted his bed red, and I remember saying to him at the time, "Why are you doing that?" And I can't remember what he said, but I read later that red is supposed to be protection from dark entities. So I think because he had nightmares, he never slept well. He had constant nightmares, and no wonder sleeping in that room with that thing.
But if you're also looking at the color red, interesting because, excuse me, when you're looking at the color red in the arcane, you have the black, the white, the gray, and the red. And the red represents dying light. So when there's dying light present, and obviously on the opposite side of red, I mean, red's the blood, it's your life, it's action, it's passion, it's love, it's all of these things, right? But on the opposite side of that, you have the dying light. And this is what Caleb Jade has taught me. And when you see things in the red, or there's a lot of red present, like in their rituals and sacrifices and things, you have to know there's a dying light or death that's present. So there's, it could perhaps be the dying light that was consuming him at that stage
so
as
much
well.
sense. Because his soul frequency, when he was dark, was crimson. And in my opinion, those souls or those people that have these dark souls, whether it's their soul or something that's puppeting them, it's almost always this crimson red in the aura.
Yeah.
To me, I liken that to psychopathy.
And that would be the death. So obviously the
the light because we're hearing from that soul.
One thing Caleb has told me a lot is this, like we were having topics like, for example, on sex magic. And I said to him, so are you saying that just because you're involved in sex magic, you don't necessarily have to rape children or whatever? He said, no. He said it's what you subscribe to in the arcane. You don't all do the same thing. Like certain people would use tantric sex because tantric sex would last for like a week. And they use that for sex magic. So they use that to power the soul gems. Which is insane. So it's not just, you don't necessarily have to kill someone to be involved in sex magic. You can be killing other things, I guess. In the arcane, you're always killing something, I guess. But it's like interesting what you're saying, with your, and I guess, wouldn't it make sense though, Rachel, that would be, depend on what spirits they've made agreements with?
I would say so, yes. I would say so.
Yes.
So my father's, his demon of choice, I suppose is a way to describe it, was Anubis. Which again, I've had interviews with other people who've said, those deities aren't necessarily all evil, but for me, because of my father's connection with this entity, it was always dark. Mind you, I saw it conjured once, this entity, and I wasn't frightened of it, but I'd been given something to calm me down. But there was something else. There was something very Satan-like a red entity is the way I would describe it, that would sit on his bed. I would dread going into his bedroom, whether he was home or not. If that door to that bedroom was always closed, and it was always cold inside, freezing. And again, I know that now. It's interesting. It was right next to the bathroom as well. So when you've got a wet area in the house, anywhere there's water, that is power. I know you know this. That's fuel for manifestation for otherworldly entities. So I
Yes.
think that whatever this thing was sucking the energy from the bathroom and utilizing it to produce, phenomena, but also it would suck the ambient temperature out of the room. And it was just freezing cold. He did also have a trapdoor, which I guess there could have been some air movement because underneath the house was a big chasm. That cold air was possibly coming up through that as well. But there was a carpet laid over the top and his bed on top of that. So, he made pretty sure that nobody was going to get down there unless he wanted to go down there. I would hear him move his bed in the middle of the night and I would know what was going on. He'd be going down there for whatever reason. Interestingly, when the house was sold to my niece, the floorboards in that section of the room were all pulled up because otherwise they would have found the trapdoor. And it was all like literally all the soil he'd taken so much soil, wheelbarrowed down the passageway and filled it up right up to where the floorboards were with the rest of the room to cover it up. And that's not normal. Normally you've got a space between the floorboards and the ground. But again, my family members oblivious. They thought somebody had broken in and pulled up the floorboards to steal the floorboards. I am not joking. That's what I was told when I tried to point this out. Yes.
But that to me says a lot because you often hear how these especially when they've got these powerful entities working through them, the magic that they use, because they really do illusion magic, or they hypnotize them. I mean, when you think about so many people, like oftentimes, I mean, I've asked survivors that I've interviewed, like, if your dad was doing these things, where was your mum?
Yeah.
Invariably, she was either in a hypnotized state or being given some heavy dosages of sleeping pills or deemed crazy, and really is just there to provide a cover for if she herself was not partaking, right? But yeah, so I think a lot of that as well is really just almost being hexed, man. The more I see this, Rachel, the more I hear these stories, the more sense it makes to me that people it's almost like in a cloud,
Yeah.
like smoke. When you're sitting puffing away and there's all the smoke around you or mist, you can't see what's 30 meters ahead of you. You can maybe see 10, right?
Yeah.
But that's all that they require you to see. So they keep you in that haze, right? What do you say?
Well, with the veil, so I keep getting that the veil is disintegrating, and a lot of other psychics are talking about this as well. And again, I feel like that is disintegrating very rapidly as we come up to this harmony time as well, because my impression is that once we get to the harmony time, the veil is no longer existent. And I keep being shown these little ones being born now will never have the veil. So that all sort of adds up to one big picture. With that, along with the fact that from November of last year, we're in a 4-year astrological alignment for truth, people are going to have to wake up. They don't have a choice. And I see the next few months are going to be a bit chaotic because people coming out of that cognitive dissonance, whether it's because they've got family who've made allegations and they've never paid attention and suddenly they realize, oh my God, it's true. That's a shock. That's something that they're going to have to deal with, whether it's recognizing that maybe the government doesn't love them the way that they think the government does, or these institutions that we've discussed but we can't talk too much about on various platforms. That is going to become a big wake up for a lot of people very, very, very quickly. So again, what you're saying before, people getting to these higher and higher frequencies, I think a lot of us are expected to show the way. And we have been doing it in many ways, a lot of us. And there's many, many people that are awake. Many, many people. We are not alone.
Yes.
No doubt, pretty much everybody watching this, unless they're trolls trying to get information, they'll be awake too. They know what's going on. We need to be there for these people when they come to this horrifying conclusion that we've all come to years ago or decades ago. It's going to be a little bit full on. but again, I see this as a really positive thing. It's like when you've got a boil, it has to be lanced, and then
Exactly.
the healing can begin.
And it's
Not a
always painful when you squeeze it. The most painful thing is lancing and squeezing it. So in that moment you're going through it, it's like what I'm seeing is, the bottleneck. So we're
Yeah.
getting, and if your energy is loaded with nonsense, you're not going to get through the bottleneck.
Yeah.
There's a bottleneck where everything is coming together right now, and our choices are being squeezed out of us, if nothing else, right? The true reflection of who we are, is actually coming to the surface now. Our true person, true spirit, not person, spirit.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
those of us who are working in harmony and in alignment with spirit, we're good. But there are still people that have, I look at, honestly, so many of my South African friends, people, and I would say all of my friends are awake, definitely. I wouldn't be friends with them if they weren't.
Yeah.
But there are some people, and I know well, they will look to a certain degree and they won't look anymore.
Yeah.
I think we in this country are so used to corruption. We are so used to stealing and the government stealing and the corruption. It's just par for the course for us. So I think most South Africans, it's just another day. But we've kind of been lulled into that as well. Because when South Africans start seeing the amount of SRA and stuff that's happening as well, we're in for a big shock because we sit here on very, very powerful energy. Africa is a very, very powerful continent,
Right.
But the
Yeah.
dark arts here are on another level. The witch doctors and the witchcraft used here, sure.
And it's
It's
interesting you
quite,
see that in communities where there's a desperation. And when
yes,
anywhere where you've got people who are desperate, they will call on, usually you'd hope that they call on a benevolent entity like an angel or God or a Jesus or, an archangel
yeah,
or something along those lines. But sadly, when people are desperate, they will, and if they don't know how to do it safely, they'll call on the wrong kind of entity and get power. And power can be incredibly corrupting. And I think this is actually what's been coming up a lot with particularly clients that I'm reading for at the moment is that you won't be given a great deal of power unless you are absolutely 100% going to use it for the right reasons. So people who
it's
want to
great.
win the lotto, they don't understand lotteries don't help people. It's number one, you'll never win because, and I'm sorry if people get upset about this, but it's not there to empower you. It's there to siphon off more of your loose energy through money, make you think you've got a chance and always be disappointed. And it's obviously, most of it goes to the darker souls anyway. But, and it's a savior thing. Like once I've got that money, everything will be great. If you look at the actual percentages of people who get a lottery win, they usually give it away, or the power corrupts them. They go in a really bad direction, or they end up actually more destitute than they were previous to getting the money. It's really sad. They'll gamble it away because they don't feel like they've earned it. It's a sad thing. So it's a really high percentage of people actually end up doing that. You see similar things where if they've had an inheritance or something and they didn't like the person the money came through, often that people will just throw it away or give it away, or they won't feel that they won't value it.
Exactly. And it's so true what you say. It's such a diversion. And it's that whole building hope, getting crushed, building hope, getting crushed. Well, and yes, there have been certainly some people that have managed to wax that, but the minimal. But for the vast majority, it's exactly true what you say, that feeling of hope and getting crushed. It's very interesting. I was watching a movie. Where is that? And I wrote it somewhere. In fact, last night, something about when they were talking about getting rid of humans, or now I have to see if I wrote it here. Man! No, it's not here, and I don't want to waste time now. But basically, in this movie, the malevolent entities were saying, well, we'll just build on humans' hope. As long as we give them hope, and then we can crush it. The one thing the human being is really, and I've always thought hope is a good thing. I think, and it is, of course it is, because God is hope, right? But at the end of the day, when you have this, okay, well, come here, there's this carrot dangling, and this, and you go, whoa, okay, but you've just got to this, and you've just got to that, and you've just got to that, and then boom, everything comes crashing down. I mean, that crash is harder than a 30,000 feet crash from the sky, I think, because it's not just your physical being, it's your hope. Wow, it's a big thing to crash when you've changed your perspective completely about something, and then someone builds up your hopes and then disappoints you. That disappointment, I think,
as a child, I learnt, for me, hope was the fact that my soul would be able to escape this physical body at times when I just couldn't be in my body. So for me, that was what actual hope was. And I think for a lot of people who are really altruistically, benevolently keyed up, that is actually something that we actually have something to look forward to. Like with that, for us, if there's a death process, we get free. With the dark souls, that's the absolute opposite. They have no hope. They have no hope because when they die, they go somewhere dreadful. Can you imagine the horror of living a life? Nothing would fulfill that black hole. Nothing. So no wonder they go around doing these horrific things to innocent, beautiful light souls, because they're so jealous and angry. And speaking of jealous and angry, I get very frustrated. I keep hearing from people that Jesus Christ was a jealous and angry God, and that is not his teaching. It is absolutely the opposite. And I've been surprised how many people have come forward with this, but I think it's a complete and utter misinterpretation. Jealous, angry entities are demonic. Jealous, angry people are dark. They don't have any hope. So yeah, it's very interesting. Without hope, the soul dies.
Exactly. And I think it's so interesting that we're saying this, because I was literally this morning having this conversation with someone about, us as humans, and obviously, these dark entities, and they have no hope of turning around. But Rachel, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go back to a previous theory that I'm saying, that how far can they be pushed before there is no hope? Hope is always there. Just because they've lost hope doesn't mean there is no hope. That's where it's so important for us to recognize projection, because when these guys know exactly how to project onto you, they're masters of energy. They're masters of energy. And most of the secret societies, they live with according to certain philosophies. And these philosophies, I've noticed, all have to do with energy. So let's go before the secret societies. The universe was what it was and is what it is. Our forefathers have understood and broken down energy into each and every particle and helped us to understand how energy works. Energy is unemotional. Now you can either take it, twist it, contort it, screw it up, manipulate it, abuse it, or you go in alignment. You just go with the flow. Right? There's those two options that you have. You either of the light, all of us are of the light. The devil is of the light. Lucifer's of the light. I mean, he was created from God. Of course he has to be of the light. Just because he's operating as the monster, if you want to look at it in that way, that he is, with all his army of demonics and 10 quadrillion things, everyone is created from light. Even the alchemists who create these babies and things, that's still created.
The dying light, I can understand that, because I always see those entities as this red color, which I always sort of take as infrared. Yeah, I can see it now. I used to get very frustrated when people said that, but I can understand it now, thanks to yourself and Caleb.
Caleb, yeah, he's amazing. I mean, Caleb spent 35 years in the arcane. For those of you who haven't watched his stuff yet, guys, you need to go watch it. I mean, this is a guy that has been literally from in the womb. His mom He had a twin, and his mom had a late-term abortion, so it was trauma in the womb already, and missed him. And from being sold, he's half Native American, half German, from being sold, at the age of 2, his mother didn't want him, she never wanted him. Gave him to her sister, who at the age of 4 then sold him into Catholic services, and of course was adopted by a Scottish Freemason family who adopted 11 Native American kids. And of course he's got all the bloodlines, he's half German royalty, half Native American, all the right spiritual bloodlines, all the right blood groups, a born warrior, and boy, did they exploit him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, how beautiful that he's using his knowledge now to share and to help people.
And a total genius as well. You know, master of psychology, so understands these things as well. So, I mean, and this is what I love, you know, and this is all about raising the soul frequency, because I see someone like him, who I've worked with now very closely for about 18 months,
Wow.
come out from where he's come and publicly doing his healing. I mean, you know, everyone knows Caleb is publicly healing with us. He's highly PTSD, tremors and things like that. He's physically got disabilities now. So he has to be worked with in a very, and of course coming out of this and telling his story and coming to sit on the platform when he's in clear pain, voice quivering because his vocal cords were damaged as well.
Wow.
And he just does it. And it's just such a blessing to see these people. And that's why I say, I mean, my job, who wouldn't want what I do? To witness all these things. It's really amazing. I think you guys are incredible, Rachel. And for you to have lived through what you lived through with your dad and your family. And to come out stronger, brighter, wiser, more courageous, just leading the way, you know. It's beautiful to observe.
Your crown chakra just flared. It was absolutely beautiful. I hope everybody else got to see that. Absolutely violet light just came flying out of your crown chakra. Is so stunning. Well, yeah, again, darling. Yeah.
Well, that tells you I mean exactly what I say. That's
Exactly.
from God as well. That's
Yeah.
God. That's God's channeling, you know,
Yeah.
and that's real and true. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a blessing to be here, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you, because to walk this path is not easy. You know, as a channel host, I know the crap I pick up from people, and I mean, I know with you survivors, especially with at the end times now, with people, with so many people that have been programmed to create chaos.
Yes.
So there's even more chaos than before, and to see all this peace arise from within this chaos is a miracle in itself, you know.
It is, and often, you know,
Yeah.
it's the chaos, it's the cauldron that creates. Unfortunately, it's not something I advocate for, but it's usually the really difficult situations that will forge a diamond. And we're
Right.
seeing that a lot now. A lot of people, I'm sure people around you, yourself, I know a lot of people who are going up levels in soul frequency, and it's quite spectacular. And again, it feels like it's on steroids because of the harmony time. That's the only thing, unless it's just going to continue to keep going up in frequency after that. I've just noticed it's been steady, and then it's got faster and faster and faster, and it just seems to be at fever pitch at the moment. So people learning lessons really, really fast.
But I think, you know, if we look at the topic of mastery, of humans reaching a level of self-mastery, now that's not, again, it's a very fine line between seeing that for what it is and then seeing it again with the Luciferian culture of, oh, I want to be God, I am God, and I'm going to have my own plan or whatever. Nothing like that. That's not, you see, that's misunderstanding the scriptures or the word completely. A level of self-mastery where I think we're reaching that. We're souls that have incarnated here many times over, lived this hellhole, wisened up, learned our lessons, you know, and willing to face our shadow self. then I think we're at the stage now where I truly believe that we can let our karma go. Whatever karma we have, it's the time, the energies are allowing for us to let that go. But for those of us who have done, we don't all have to have done the same amount of work. There just has to be a certain level of consciousness that's reached. Yes, I understand what forgiveness is. Yes, I understand what I need to do in order to repent or take responsibility. In other words, change my ways. It's as simple as that. Don't do the shit that got me into trouble in the first place, right? If I've been mean, stop it. Try and be kind, because really at the end of the day, when you look within and you're kinder to yourself, you have no option but to be kind to others. It's a natural thing. So it's all about looking at what's happening here. And then we understand we are not, there's a big difference between service to self and serving myself. Serving myself means I have to do my spiritual work, get myself to a spiritual place, right? Do the hard stuff, face the challenges, apologize where I need to. If necessary, sit in jail if I've done what I need to, and I know then that's my way of correcting my wrongs. Then accept that that's the consequence of my actions. Basically, we accept the consequence of our actions and we choose to learn and grow through that.
Yeah.
We don't see ourselves as victims, right? And when we're able to reach that level, that in itself is so many levels of raising your frequency. So many people say, oh, well, you just say, I've got to raise my frequency. I go, yes, but if you're one of my master students, you know exactly that raising your frequency entails a whole lot of shit. So when you come to me, Chantelle, I'm stuck in a hole, I'm going, well, raise your frequency. You already know what raise your frequency means. But somebody that comes to me for the first time, of course, I'm going to explain what it means and what you need to do. I'm going to walk you through the process. And so many of us now have got to be walked through that process. It's the time where we have to let our karma go, because that karma is the negative thing that holds us back. And where we then go, zoop, we elevate then into 5D consciousness, where doesn't mean we don't have challenges anymore. I think we have more challenges there, but we now have different tools with which we, navigate our path. I don't know what your take on that is. What are your take on that?
Well, I'm really glad you mentioned the fact that we are negating old soul contracts as part of it, and that is releasing karma. So, and this is something that a lot of people need to be aware of. So if you are getting to higher frequencies and you're releasing that old karmic contracts and soul contracts that you have with others, as you get to those higher levels, the people around you, if they're not doing their work, they will become quite reactive. They won't want to be around you. It's not necessarily personal. They can't help it. So if your frequency is really high also, and you're around those people and they're not doing their work, and there's a big disparity between your level and their level, they will drain you. It's not their fault. They just haven't been able to do it as quickly as you have. So I think I'm seeing a lot of people feeling very isolated. The higher the frequency, they're getting more feeling of being alone. And so I think for those people, community is something that you can have with people all over the world now. We don't have to worry about it being someone down the street that we have a connection to and are on the same level. For those that are at a really high soul level, they might have to look for their community outside of their local area. Otherwise, they will feel isolated and alone. And don't feel that just because your best friend of 20 years can't stand you anymore and can't even put it into words that it's your fault. You might have been able to do the work that they just can't catch up with. And they might also be feeling like, because it's a hard thing. A lot of people don't want to let go of their victim status, the old things that they used to do, drinking and taking substances that holds their frequency down. And they might want to listen to really loud, angry music because it feeds something in them. When harmonious music's much better for the soul. Yeah. It's not their fault. It's just
Nature. Listen to the sound of nature. That's the best music for your soul. Yeah.
Yeah. So alone.
It's so weird about music. I've gotten to the stage where even if I drive for 8 hours, I cannot have music on in my car. I love quiet. I just love quiet. I listen to podcasts. I like to listen to things. I like to think about things now. That's what I like to do. and there's so much out there right now that one can, but I must say, I'm finding the people and, filtering what needs to be filtered and just getting such a core team of people that can just lead the way, through these dark times. It's just amazing, actually. And as you say, we get there and people are being triggered. You're being triggered right now in a crazy way. And why are you being triggered? Because you are being challenged to let go. The only thing that you are being challenged to do is let your shit go. Let it go. It's like the Buddha says, anger is like holding a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone. The only one getting burnt is you. So let it go. Look at yourself. See others as a mirror of what's happening in you. We know that by now. We're talking masterclass here. We know people reflect us. We know we project onto them and they project onto us. So if they're projecting onto us, something in you is attracting that projection. What? Stop it. Stop fighting. Look with yourself. Pray, meditate, fast, walk, swim, run, do whatever you need to, exercise, do yoga, meditate, whatever it is for you to figure out. Go to therapy, go see a healer, whatever, for you to figure out what it is that's holding you back, because you're the only one holding you back. And these people know that, which is why one of the biggest things is MK Mind Ultra. They call it Mind Sex, the suggestive programming. That's all it is. MK Ultra is suggestive programming over and over and over and over and over again. Different suggestions from different programs. And then they manipulate that. And that's how they get to twist the kids' minds and that turn into these hideous adults who do horrific things and hopefully all find their way back home again.
Yeah, well, many are. I mean, the number of MK Ultra, slaves that I'm aware of now, we're coming out of the woodwork. We're everywhere. Thank God, because it makes,
Compare it to 4 years ago, Rachel. There was hardly anyone speaking. Remember that?
Exactly. Which, and it's another reason to be quite hopeful that something's going on energetically in the background. I believe it's got something to do with the frequencies getting so high that these dark entities just cannot control the place anymore. It's got nothing to do with about any particular savior that's coming in. This is more about us actually taking our power, getting to higher frequencies, so that they can't control. And this is why it's so important that MK Ultra survivors are speaking out, because it's a proof that their mind control doesn't work.
Exactly.
It might have worked for quite some time, over decades, but it's falling apart at the same time that the veil is falling apart and everybody's waking up.
Absolutely. I so agree with that. And it's so true what you said. It's proof that their mind control does not last forever. And the more MK Ultra survivors that are waking up and realizing these things, jeez, what a blessing for each and every survivor to see that. And just to know that you are still here, you are alive, you are safe. You might not feel very safe right now. The world might not feel like a very safe place for you right now. But I promise you there are good people in this world. There are many good people, and you will find the right person for yourself, because all of you deserve that. Everyone, I don't care what anyone has done. I don't care what your past is. If you choose to turn that corner today and you choose to say, no more shit, I choose to walk in the light of God as of today, you can miraculously heal and change your life within 24 hours. I will maintain. I've seen it happen.
And now is the time for those who, like you said, who have done things that they're not proud of, who are being blackmailed, to step up and say what they've been involved in.
Yes, I will earn this. That's what I've done. This is who I am. And this is what I love about people like your survivors, like you guys, Rachel. I especially look at Caleb. I know how hard it is for Caleb to acknowledge that he did that shit. And he sits on the channel and he says, I did that and I'm not proud of it. And he will break down sometimes, but I tell you, he's got the love and support of the viewers for that. And it's beautiful to see how many amazing people are out there willing to forgive and open their arms to people that have done atrocious things, and to say, it's okay. Come home, come home, come home. That for me is one of the most amazing qualities of the human spirit, is that we have this unconditional ability to forgive. We do. But whether we choose to forgive or not is a different story. But when we understand behind it all the true purpose, why we experienced this and why ultimately we chose that, then the healing is just there. All pain goes. But I know that's a tough one for people to come to terms with, but it's a step-by-step process to get there.
Yeah, it is a tough one. Yeah, you've got to recognize that, even the monsters of the world, something's happened to them. Doesn't mean it's okay what they've done. Like I said before, just because my father had attachments, or one really, really dark one, doesn't mean that it's okay what he did. 100% not. But he was a child once too, with a grand president of the Grand Lodge for a grandfather. So I've no doubt that something terrible happened to him as a child. You don't end up like that. Does.
I've always said that. When I see some of these pictures, I get shown some photos of these when they were little kids, and then they're 40, 50 now, whatever, and they've now being arrested for sex trafficking and human trafficking and what have you. I see a photograph of this person when they were 5, the most innocent little child you've ever seen. And Source, God, divine creator, whatever you choose to call it, is one thing God has, and that is empathy. It does not mean that you do not take responsibility for your actions, but you do not have to be treated like a piece of vermin for that. That stuff occurred to you when you were very much, and that's exactly with your dad. There's no doubt in my mind, he was born into the system, went through it, had the most horrific things happen to him, obviously had some kind of an entity attached to him at a very young age, which he didn't even know was part of him, no doubt. It becomes part of you. So I think at the end of the day, he's got to make it right with God, or his creator at some point in his existence. You've been able to forgive him, and that is your strength. And it's only for that reason that you are able to help others forgive as well. Because forgiveness is not an easy thing, but once you're able to forgive something, it becomes easier and easier, because we see it's not about the other person, it's actually about us. And of course, does it help the other person? Of course it does. Of course it helps his spirit to know that you have forgiven him and that you've understood, and that you can also empathize with that little boy that was raped, tortured, abused, forced into horrific situations. Pray for him. Let him come back. Let him find his way back too. He was shattered, and it's easier to have boys shattered than girls shattered, by the way.
It is. It's really sad.
That's why we find so many male perpetrators. Not that there aren't women, but the main ones are the male ones, because they are shattered. Because women are more, remember, we water energy. We're more flexible. So they can't they more twist us and contort us and turn us into witches, right? But men are the kill and break, and their minds get pushed very strongly.
Yeah, and their bodily reactions to certain abuses, unfortunately, can make them so confused, because they think perhaps that there's pleasure in it when obviously there isn't, which is so incredibly sad. And I my heart goes out to every male survivor who's gone through that, because it's a very confusing thing when your body is doing something that your mind is saying no to. It must be horrible. But yeah, he just wasn't strong. He wasn't strong. He was weak.
I think I want to even say, he must have been strong, because he wouldn't have been as powerful as what he was if he wasn't strong. But unfortunately,
physically strong.
Right. But hang on, even for them to for them to be able to control him to the extent that they did, that takes strength. All they've done is they've used his strength and inverted it. He's got the strength. It was just used for the wrong powers, if that makes sense. The strength is there. You just got to work it for in another direction now. And unfortunately, that's what, he obviously became part of that. That's never gonna be cleaned off his slate, but I have no doubt that he will be sitting with his creator and they will figure it out. They will figure out a suitable comeuppance for him, a way that he can repay his crimes against humanity, because he does need to take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be being lashed by the crowds. That's all I'm saying.
No. Well, yeah, he's always in a dark place. Whenever I tune into him, he's in a very dark place. And again, that place, they get predated on. So he's in fear of whatever is darker and bigger and scarier than he is.
Caleb always speaks about there's always a bigger shark than you. Talks about that, the sharks. There's always a bigger shark than you. Yeah. So I think it's really important, I think, because energy is energy, This is, so if there's more negative energy, it's going to be more powerful than positive energy. So if we sit and focus on pain and suffering and wishing his comeuppance, whatever, we contribute to the negative, right?
Exactly.
So I think it's so important to be able to understand that he's going to be okay with God at some point. They're making it right with each other. Not that God has to make it right with him, but I think you know what I'm saying, that they're having conversations. God is giving him compassion, understanding, making him remember who he really is.
It's part of the dance that we do here, unfortunately. We come here for a dualistic experience, and someone has to be the perpetrator, unfortunately. Yeah.
But Yuri's daughter, and let's never forget that the light that you carry is his light too. He was unable to express that light in his life on earth. You are expressing his light as well. I want to just remind you of that.
Say that, he used to say he was immortal. And he'd say because he's made children and grandchildren and he lives on in us. And I remember cringing at the time because I couldn't stand it. But in a way, he was right. Yeah. But, every soul is their own individual light and can choose what they want to do with their lifetime and how they want to use that for good
Absolutely.
or bad.
Absolutely. Well, he made a good choice with you as his daughter. That's for sure. He might have made shitty choices every other time of his life, but man, oh man. Yeah. He's, I think that you're doing an amazing job there, Rachel, in Australia. And it's really great to see how you're bringing light to these very dark places and honoring those that are no longer here to speak for themselves. So thank you for that. But actually, one thing before I end off, I want to ask you about the supermoons. What are the significance of all the supermoons at the moment that we're having?
To me, they're like gateways. So we've just had one that was supposed to be a blue moon also. There's a supermoon coming up in the next 3 months. So, and for those who might get a little bit caught up in, the dates for them aren't exactly 28 days apart, I just remind people that a full moon can last 2 to 3 days. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to be exactly on those 28-day mark. To me, it's like the fact that one's just gone, there's 3 more to come just before that harmony time coming up in December. To me, that's like an opportunity for people to really get faced with their stuff.
Right.
And transmute it and get to those higher frequencies as quickly as possible. So my suggestion to people is if you're feeling triggered, ask yourself why, see where the healing can be in that. Don't get caught up in negative emotions, because again, grief, sadness, anger, frustration, that can actually break down the aura and make you more, it makes it more pervious to negative frequencies coming in. So you've got to buoy yourself up. If listening to podcasts helps you, then that's wonderful. If going out into nature helps, always helps. Being out near the ocean, that helps. listening to music, if that's your thing, that helps. Get your frequency to a high level and allow yourself time to think as well. I think a lot of people will have something constantly going on in the background and they don't have that time to actually listen to themselves. I know when I'm too busy, I wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning so my guides can have a conversation with me. And that can be inconvenient when you want to get some sleep. So give yourself time for quiet time as well. That's a really powerful way to sort of help you get through this process as lithely and pleasantly as possible.
I think that's fantastic advice, and yeah, and it's so true what you say. Rest, it's so important that we rest. Just relax, take it easy, enjoy your work, enjoy your playtime, have family time, have fun, have friends. Those are very important things to keep your frequency high, most definitely. Even though, when we do work like this, can take us down some very dark paths. It's even more important then that we do the stuff that balances us again from that. Rachel, thank you so much. I've loved chatting to you again. And I really look forward to our future stuff we're doing together, guys. Please watch the space. Rachel's going to be doing she's going to be talking on the virtual conference that we're doing with Gnostic very shortly. So watch the space, and we're going to be doing stuff on the Gnostic channel as well, and it's uncensored. I love that word, uncensored. Don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel. Take care, and I really look forward to having you back again next time. God bless everybody. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.